Hi guys, it's Katie here from Creativa, and today I'm going to be embellishing the cover of this Broderie SVG Mini Album that we have been working on, or I have been, and hopefully you've been following along. So I'm just showing you here that I've cut out two of the A3 pieces and one of those A4 pieces, which are the mats for the cover and the spine. And then I'm also showing you that I have cut out one of those L4 pieces, which I've actually sized up to fit on that cover mat a little bit better. So I've already inked around the edges of everything, and I'm just going to attach this. It's actually an insert, but I've just cut it straight out of the scrapbook paper that I'm using, which is a digital download from the Knitwits collection, and it's called Always and Forever. And I've used that all the way through this album to mat the pages, and also for all of the decorating and embellishing that I've done in the album. And there's a video for that you might want to check out if you're interested. So I stuck that down, and then I realised that it wasn't very centered, so I pulled it back up again and stuck it back down. Okay, now I have this frame, which is also from the SVG Files, which is that one K2. So I showed you that, and then I realised that I didn't show you the mat that went with that. So that's the mat that goes with that mat, that frame, K4. So I've cut out the K4 mat and the K2 frame, and I've actually altered the size of both of those pieces a little bit in the Cricut design space to make it more oval rather than round, and I've possibly made it a little larger as well, I can't remember. So I'm just attaching that mat directly onto that frame, and the frame itself I've actually cut out, I think maybe two of them, and layered them up to make it a little bit more bulky, I guess you could say. And then I have given it a little bit of paint and covered the whole thing in clear embossing powder, and heated it up with the heat gun so that it's glossy. So that little chipboard piece that says "Remember This Moment" is a Kaisercraft chipboard piece, and then I'm just getting out some little bits and pieces that I'm planning on putting around here. So these flowers I made. They are Foameran, made from Foameran, I think that's how you say it. And then I have this little clock here, which is a cutout from a Kaisercraft collection, although I don't remember which collection it is. I just hadn't used it on something else and thought it might work well with this. So I've given it a coat of glossy accents, and the same with that butterfly, which is also from a Kaisercraft collection. And then there's a little love heart there that comes from the Knitwits Always and Forever collection that I cut out on my Cricut. So I'm going to attach it all with my hot glue gun. I don't use my hot glue gun very often, so this should be interesting. And I've got some double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to put that under the frame just to give it a little bit of dimension. So the flowers I made from Foameran, and I cut those out on my Cricut as well. And then I coloured them, I think, with Faber-Castell gelatos. And you hold them up to an iron to get them to sort of shape themselves. There's lots and lots of videos on YouTube on how to make flowers out of Foameran. So I suggest going and searching on YouTube, because I'm certainly no expert at that. So I'm just putting that frame down using that double-sided foam tape, and now I'm going to attach that clock with some hot glue up in the corner there. Use my tweezers because the glue's hot, and I thought that the clock went well with the chipboard, because the chipboard talks about remembering the moment, so clocks are about moments and time and that sort of thing. and a butterfly, because why not? There's always a good time for a butterfly. So the chipboard piece I have painted with a bit of gold shimmery paint, and then used a bit of brown around the edges to sort of distress it a little bit. And so I'm just doing my best to attach it with my hot glue gun. Once you've put it down, you can't move it with the hot glue. It's there forever. Well, for a long time. Trying to get those little pieces, you know, those little hairs, little glue strings off. Okay, so now I'm just playing around with where I'm going to put everything. And that seems like it might be okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start sticking it down with my glue gun and sort of sliding them under each other a little bit. I often use flowers and frames on the front of my mini albums. I think a frame sort of draws your attention to where you're meant to be looking, and flowers are just pretty. Especially on this album, and this is a totally over the top, lacy, florally, feminine album, so you just couldn't use too many flowers and pink and diamantes. I've put quite a bit of bling in there as well as some love hearts, which I've just popped up there. So now I have this little stamped image. So the stamp itself is a Kaisercraft stamp, and it looks like it's like a vintage slide, and it's got curly little filigree corners on it, and I've put an eyelet in the corner so that I can dangle something off. And the image on it itself is that one there is a flower from the Knitwits collection, and the other one is a love heart from the same collection that I've just given a coat of glossy accents and a diamante on the centre of that flower. I can't even remember if that flower actually stays there or not. Okay, so now I have this piece of ribbon. I think it's chiffon ribbon, and I've actually sort of distressed it a bit with my heat gun to make it sort of curl up a little bit, and then I've just put some blotches of that gold paint on it just to give it a little bit of zing, a little bit of bling, make it a bit glittery. So I have just attached it on there, and so I'm using this brown, I think it's sepia. Let me just have a look. It's a sepia stamp pad, and the brand I think was VersaFine in sepia. Oh, it's right in front of me. Sepia VersaFine, and I've just gone around the edges of my album, and it's I've used that permanent ink rather than the distress, because the distress just won't stick to what I've used to cover it, the album, which is actually wallpaper. So wallpaper is obviously designed so that it doesn't mark too easily. So the distress inks didn't stick too well, but this one certainly did. So I've just gone around the edges and distressed that up a bit. I'm wondering if I'm going to put that other ribbon on the back. So here's the paper that I'm using to cover the back of the album. So I've just rounded the corners on that one, and now just distressing around the edges, and I'll do the same on the spine piece as well. And I'm just using the ink that's still on my distressing sponge there, so it would still be the vintage sepia. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my glue to attach the scrapbook paper to that piece of cardstock. And I'm not doing anything at all to the back, I'm just going to pop that on just as it is. And the same with the spine. I did think about putting some bits and pieces on there, but then I just decided that there was already so much going on and that I didn't want to prevent the album from laying flat when I opened it. So I've just decided to go with that really pretty paper on the front, on the back, and also on the spine. So that's the other piece of ribbon. And I'm just using that cardstock to press it down because it was too hot to press down with my fingers. And now we're going to go to town with the hot glue. You can never have too much glue. And just popping it down straight on top, and that's as much as I'm going to do. Pushing it down, trying to get it to stick on well. And now the same with the spine. In fact, the hot glue didn't work all that well. I thought it would be the best option with this wallpaper, but I've ended up since then having to use a bit of other glue to hold that down with, because it just didn't stick quite as well as I had hoped. And now I can just put this whole thing this whole piece straight on the front. And that's something as well that I think is really clever, or a good idea to do, is to create your cover separately and then attach it. So, you know, if you're not happy with it, it's not the end of the world. You could just start again and do another one before you actually attach it to the album. So I'm just sticking some more glue in there, trying to get those corners to stay. And that's pretty much it. I'm still not sure about the little slide that I've put in the top there, so I'll probably finagle that around a little bit, trying to decide if that needs to have something else doing to it. But that's pretty much the cover done. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the series on the Broderie SVG Mini Album, and that I will see you again soon. Thanks guys, bye for now, bye.